We'll call this meeting of the Facilities Management and Transportation Committee to order.
Right.
Do we have any public comment on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we're going to get an update from KCBA on the current design for the new middle school.
Hello. Here to just give you an update. I'll try to be quick. We have a PowerPoint to go through. And I also have Tom, our civil engineers here, Jamie Lynch is here as well to give part of the presentation and answer any questions. Just our team, real quick, they're all here, and all the engineers that you see on the screen, they're all currently working on the project. A lot of engineering is going on in the background for the project. Quick summary, just want to recap, the whole process. We're really looking at the educational side and the operations side. There's a lot of components that work together in this building, and the design process is really looking at how all those parts come together and how we integrate systems and educational model and operations together. We spent a lot of time on the educational program. That's really working directly with the principal and the staff. We've met with all of your educational groups and gotten input from them on their particular discipline. And we're currently working through enhancing the design for those spaces to reflect what they requested. The environment in the building is really critical. We're really starting to look at the acoustics of rooms, getting their acoustical consultant involved. It's simple things like the storage, trying to make sure we have storage space for everybody. Technology, just last week we met with your IT staff and talked through a lot of the technical systems, how the intercom system is going to work, the bell system, phones, cable TV, all that stuff. And we got a lot of really good input on what the district is looking for the systems. So that's ongoing as well. And community outreach. This is a community school, and involving everybody that participates in the school is important. We are setting up a series of community meetings this month to present the design to the community and get some feedback from them as well. And we really want to encourage as much buy-in as we can from everybody that's involved. Quick update on the design schedule. Jamie's going to get a little more into the rest of the schedule. Schematic design was the phase that we've been in this fall. We just wrapped that up. That was finishing at the end of the month, so we're in November now. We started design development, and that's going to progress through February. That's where we really provide a lot more detail into the documentation of the building. And the real key there is we're trying to show everything that needs to be included so that a detailed cost estimate can be done. So then that's when we can really dial in what the building and site are going to cost. Schematic design, we got a lot of input from the teachers. We're going to come back to them in this next phase and show them the results of what our initial approach was. That's a series of meetings that'll be coming up, and we'll set those up in the file. Already mentioned this, teacher and public engagement. On the screen there, we have November 27th and 29th for public meetings. Those are being arranged by the district. The 27th is for the adjacent property owners. They have a series of concerns likely that are different than the community at large. And the meeting on the 29th is for the entire community related to the components of the school. We also have our Act 34 hearing. That's a plan con process we have to go through, and we're scheduling that for February. That's another public meeting where there's public input during the meeting and a time period after the meeting.
For the board's edification, we'll be sending out personal invites
to all the folks that border the middle school property for that 27th meeting. Bob will be there, I'll be there, KCBA will be in attendance, the board is certainly invited, but that's a smaller, intimate meeting to talk about us being good neighbors through this process. And then the 29th is to, again, show the progress on the design, but also gather community input, answer questions, and we'll host both events at the current middle school. So we'll start advertising those pretty heavily, probably starting Monday of next week. One other item, just so the public knows, this presentation will be on our website. We will have to amend it because probably in about 20 or 25 slides, we have some slides that have the floor plans, and we talked about this last month, about putting the floor plans up online. So we'll just pull those slides out. But if someone wants to come in and view it, either in Joe Terry's office or my office, we certainly make it available for public consumption on a one-on-one basis. Good.
Just continue with the schedule. Construction is scheduled to start in August. We would be building the middle school through the summer of 2021. The second phase is the site construction. That's really tearing down the old building and building the parking lot and driveways to be completed this summer of 2022. The key point here is in the summer of 2021, the kids move into the new building. So there's still construction on the property, doing the site work after they're in the new building, but that's when we get the new building and we move the kids over. The educational program, we've worked a lot with the principal and their staff, really fine-tuning exactly what spaces are in the building, what size they are. We've had the DREAM program, and then there's been some refinements. There's been some compromises made really to address, making sure we have the right needs and it's in tune with the budget. So this is just a snapshot of that. At this point, we are pretty set on the program. We think we have everything dialed in at the right size. Wanted to go through a few of those things. This is a breakdown of the classrooms. Currently, there's 73 classrooms in the middle school, and the new building would have 89. The sizes are similar. You go from 847 square foot average, they're not all 847, to 831. So they're similar in size. The big picture here is there's more of them. The shape of the room changes from triangle to rectangle, which is a much more efficient layout. And the natural light that's limited in the current building is enhanced in the new building. Special education, there's currently 19 special ed rooms. The new design has 22, so we're increasing the number of rooms. And that's really a response to additional spaces that have been developed in the program as needed throughout the district. The science rooms, there's 11 labs now. We're going to 14 labs. The prep and storage is similar. The big difference here is we're increasing the number of labs available. Tech Ed. This is pretty similar. The size comparing the existing to the new is very close in size. The big change is going to be just having a space that's designed for that exact curriculum. Now the family consumer science, there's 2 rooms now, there's 2 rooms planned. The new rooms are slightly bigger than the old rooms. There's also 2 storage rooms that are added to the program in the new building. Art is one space that actually is a little smaller in size. The 2 classrooms now are 1,300 square feet. The proposed are 1,175. So that's a slight reduction. We don't think that that's a negative in any way. Those rooms at 1,175 are still adequately sized for middle school art. And music really saw a huge increase in the new design. Right now there's 2 classrooms, which are 854 square feet. Their 3rd classroom is the stage. The new building is going to have 3 large music rooms and a larger stage. So The 854 rooms go to 2,000 square feet, 1,793. They double in size. We did adjust the size of those down slightly. This is what they're currently at. The big picture here is there's more rooms and they're much larger than they were before. The gym also is significantly bigger than the existing gym. The existing is 6,550 and the new is 9,197. So that's quite a bit bigger. What's driving that is we're providing a full-size middle school basketball court in the gym. Currently, the main court that's in the gym is not a full-size middle school court, and that really drives the size of the main gym. The auxiliary gym is also bigger, and the new school has a fitness center. There's a fitness room at the current middle school, but it's more like a closet. And this is a more appropriate size fitness room.
Really?
Just quick through the design. This is a existing site. I'm sure you guys have seen this slide before with the middle school. The red line around in here is the property line, so you can see where the extent of your property is. We've talked before about having this safe zone where we're going to set up construction on one side and leave the existing building operating on the other. So while we're doing work over here, the existing school operates as it currently does while we're building the new building. Here's the site. When we're building the new building, here's where it sits relative to the football field in the existing building. This slide we're showing the solar. So there is one thing we have to do in the existing school while we're building the new, and that's going to be moving the solar array onto the new roof. So the gray area here is showing where we're planning on putting the solar panels. And this slide shows the final proposed layout. So we've torn down the existing building and finished the parking. So this work here is your phase 2 work. This slide, a little wider view. This is to show you conceptually, we're talking about this access road to bring the buses into the site. The real concept here is we want to have a major safety improvement where we separate the bus traffic from the parent traffic. So the buses would come in off of New Hope Street and arrange in a chevron in front of the building. The chevron is the best arrangement for the number of buses you have because every day the same bus will be in the same spot. So the kids always know which of the 40-some buses they need to go to. It's a really nice arrangement. The parent loop, again, this is separate from the buses. They're going to retain coming in off of Belvoir, and they queue up and cycle around this way with drop-off all along here. The big thing here is right now your queue space is very limited, and you back up onto Belvoir Road. Pickup, with this arrangement, we have a much longer queue distance. We're going to get cars off of Belvoir when parents are waiting to pick up their kids.
Back to the chevron
Yes.
with the buses. So are students going to be walking outside to where the bus is parked and then boarding the bus there?
Right, the buses come in, they all pull into their assigned spot, and then when there's dismissal, the buses are all parked, the kids walk out into the parking lot and get on their bus. Once they're all loaded, then they pull off one by one, sort of in sequence to pull out of there.
So then someone is there to make sure there are no students still.
I'm sure.
They do that
I'm sure
now.
there's
I know,
supervision.
They do it now.
I just,
The bus
so
loading,
is
yes.
it that way now?
We don't align them like that. They're on a driveway,
Yeah.
so they're parked horizontal parallel to the curving. This is a different setup.
Yeah.
This will be better, much safer.
Parking increases. There's 241 parking spaces full-time, and then 99 additional parking spaces if we have an event and need to park onto the bus loop. because at night, there's no buses on there, obviously. So the parking right now is 149. So this is a significant increase in the amount of cars you can have here, just really for sporting events and evening activities. We do want to, we're showing here the buffer. We want to be very sensitive to our neighbors along Maplewood Drive. Right now, there's a field that sits here, and so the building right now is a lot further away from them. We're proposing putting it at this location. It is behind the setback. We're not violating any township rules, but the building is closer to them. So we want to pay particular attention to that. Definitely, we would put in a landscape buffer there to shield that area. Yes?
Are any of the classrooms along the side of the building that is right at that home, are there any of that an outdoor space or anything of that sort
There's no outdoor space.
where there could be noise?
That bank of rooms is 3 stories. It is all classrooms. That's part of the academic wing.
Right.
There's no outside space there. We're utilizing the courtyard as the outdoor space for teachers and learning because it's a secure zone.
Right.
We really want to keep the kids in the secure area, not
I
outside.
remember there was an outdoor space though. Was that towards the football field?
It's right. It's yeah.
Okay.
On this one, but it's out back here towards the football field.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is a shot of the current civil engineer site plan. The civil engineer has been developing the concepts with the goal of getting a submission into the township. We've presented it several times. The critical time path here is land development. So the engineer's been working on that, and we are very close to making a submission to the township. It took a while to get the plan, but we're at we're close enough to make that submission. Design concept, just real quick, go through this. Big point here is the main front door. We really want to make sure it's very clear for wayfinding for visitors. They know where to go when they come up to the building. So we certainly focused design on making sure the front entrance was clear and celebrated. The building is organized with a cross corridor, basically this T, where everything on the left side is your public functions, on the right is your academics. And those corridors really organize the arrangement along that. With the academic side, we want to, the big point is we have this circulation that goes around, we call it a racetrack arrangement. Rather than a bunch of wings sticking out, the wings are connected. And that gives you a very compact circulation. It cuts down your building square footage. It provides the students the shortest distance to get from point A to point B. And it also gives them multiple ways to go. If it's a series of fingers sticking out, they always have to go out and back each run. Whereas this way, you get the most efficient circulation of the students. Yes.
Can you identify where the cafeteria is here?
Yes. So that's on the community side. The cafeteria is here. So it's the farthest to the left. The gym is directly above it, and the auditorium is next to that. So the main entrance is here. Administration, the secure entrance vestibule is here, and all your public functions are on this side of the building. They're also on the front of the building. We don't want the public necessarily to be accessed into the entire building. We want to control at night what areas of the building are open and which are closed. So having this arranged with the left and right, we can close off the corridor here and here and just have that side of the building open if you wanted to have an evening event in the gym, the auditorium.
One of the things with the high school, our new high school gym, is we have a very large lobby, so if everybody lets out at the same time. With this, I don't see a very large space, or am I missing it? Just if it's full.
No, I wouldn't say you're missing it. It's deceiving when you're looking at these small plans. There's a lobby on this side, which is the athletics and performing arts entry, and I'll get into that in a second. The main entrance lobby here. The corridor in between, the corridor that's in front of the auditorium, is very wide.
Okay.
It's 18, 20 feet wide.
Oh, my God.
And the
Oh, that's
corridor
wide.
here
Oh,
is
that's
very
very wide.
wide.
Yeah, it's big.
So it's not that there's a big rectangular
It's not-
box like the high school, it's that the corridors are very wide. So
Is
you
there
have a lot
code
of,
for that? Is there a certain amount of square feet that you need to have?
yeah, there
Just
is a
curious.
code, there is a code for the
So, you know-
auditorium, it's 50% of the occupants have to be able to be fitted into the lobby.
Gotcha, okay.
But there is a lot of space there, and when you look at these small plans,
Understood.
yeah. We already talked about the gym's increase in the auditorium, and the auxiliary room was increased. Go ahead, Joe. So this is the gym entrance. We envision, at night when you want to have a performance in the auditorium or a ball game in the gym, these doors would be open. We'd close the rest of the building so that visitors would come in here. It's directly adjacent to the cafeteria. You could have the cafeteria open if you wanted to serve food out of there. You could also have a board meeting, community meeting in the cafeteria. And for all three of these assembly spaces, there's public bathrooms right here. So the concept there is we're packing all those things close together so that you can cordon off that part of the building from the rest.
So that hallway to the right of the right arrow, you can wall that off.
Right, that's the idea, is somewhere in here, we would close off the academic side of the building
Okay.
from the public side. And we're still working out exactly where that's going to be, but that's
Or
the
what it'll
concept.
look like, whether it be doors or a gate
It
or...
would likely be a security grill that would come
Grill,
down. I'm sure you
okay,
have some in
yeah.
high school.
Okay.
So the custodial staff brings them down when you want to close that area off. This
Do we have
shows,
something at the high school that closes off the rest of the building from the gym and?
Doors, right?
We have doors.
We do.
Yeah,
Doors.
this is just showing you everything together. We still have the plans color coded. That's really helpful to communicate to everybody. The blue rooms are classrooms. The red rooms are your special ed rooms, and the green are science labs. The yellow is really signifying more the public functions and the specialty rooms. The upper floor is really just academics. It's really mostly here on the right side of the building. It's similar to the layout below. This is all academic space. And the third level is the lowest level. This is the 3-story portion of the building. There's only space on this floor at that area. Go through just some quick shots of what it's going to look like. This is as you're coming up the main walkway, sort of main public vehicle access to the site, what the building would look like. Here's the main entrance. There is a canopy, so there's a place to sit and wait out of the rain. We have our secure vestibule. Administration is here to the left with glass. We want to maximize supervision. Eyes on the street. Make sure that people are watching as visitors come up to the building, see what's going on in the parking lots. That's really critical. This is the other entrance. This is the gym and auditorium entrance. So if you had a night event, this is the entrance to the left where we would come in there. Cafeteria is on the left. Here you're seeing more of the academic side. So here's the main entrance here. This is where all the classrooms are on that side of the building. Wrap around the corner. We really built this shot because it's important to show where that access road would come in. Buses would be coming in here from New Hope Street up the drive and parking here. So when the kids on buses come in every day, this is their approach. And we are showing that landscape buffer because the house is on Maplewood are right here. As we wrap around to the side and the back of the building, this is showing that side of the building, what it would look like. This is getting close to leading up onto the football field, what you would see. And this is lifted a little higher in the air over the football field, what the back of the building would look like. So I think Joe,
Are
gonna
those
run
solar
some
panels?
videos.
Yeah, we have to move the solar
Is that what
panels.
those are up there? The solar panels?
We have a couple videos that capture this, and show you the little more detail. We'll see.
Before we do the videos, a couple
Yeah.
points of emphasis, and I'll ask Bob to chime in if the board has additional questions. So some key points with this proposed building. Number one, the colors that you see are not final. I don't pick the colors in my own house, let alone, but we'll have an array of facades for the board to select and the middle school administration. Some really important topics. One, the number of rooms. When we first move into the building 2.5 years from now, we will have a few empty rooms, but that's by design. We are building it so we can grow into it. The current second grade is that largest group, and after them, our large groups following. So within 2 or 3 years, it's going to be a full building. So middle school administration has mapped that out and done mock scheduling for the next several years. Secondly, transportation. We've also asked Kathy Ellis to take a look at what does it do for our, as we transport students and we have the number of cars that we have coming in and buses off of Belvoir Road versus now cars coming off of Belvoir and buses coming off of New Hope. So she started to look at some of the routes that buses may take to get to New Hope Street. Art and music. We have wonderful participation in the arts and in our chorus and our band. Nearly 100 students, Bob, if not more, in chorus and band.
Probably more like 300.
Oh, my God.
So
Both of those, and then if you throw in orchestra, you're probably 450.
they're currently occupying about 3,000 to 3,300 square feet. Teachers do a marvelous job keeping the kids involved. We're going to more than double that. It's going to be about 75 to 7,700 square feet. And then also phys ed. Currently we run in our current gym, Bob and company will have 3 phys ed classes going on in different stations. So we have about 75, 80 kids at any given time in the current size of the gym. And that's really, they are really crammed in there. So along with that, adding the concept of the auxiliary gym and the fitness room is really to move into teaching fit for life type concepts for our kids. Not that it is important to teach team sports and those types of things, but we want to teach life fitness. So with the building is designed to accommodate the academic program rather than just cramming an academic program into a building. And I think KCBA has done a nice job with it, but Bob and the staff have really stepped up and had some wonderful ideas. Understanding that we have a budget, but those are some really key areas that have been emphasized through this process thus far.
All right.
May I just interject? I wish you had brought some pictures of the music department that you had at Northampton Middle School that we saw on Friday. They were breathtaking. They're absolutely gorgeous. You said ours are going to be similar to that?
Yeah, similar in size.
Yeah.
Height,
No.
I don't know that it's going to be as high as that.
But higher than our typical normal what kids are used to.
Yeah, typically we do a music room, it's a story and a half.
They're gorgeous.
You want the volume for the acoustics in the room.
Very beautiful.
Northampton was over 2 stories
Really?
of height. Those were very tall rooms.
So that the public knows, the middle school administration, central office, and board visited Northampton Middle School, which recently completed their project, 2015, I believe they moved in. Very similar situation in that they currently have about 1,300 kids, expect to grow to 1,500. So, no 2 districts are alike, but this was a similar project. We do have pictures. I've been remiss in forwarding them, but we'll get them out to the board. Joe took plenty of pictures.
Oh,
including
great.
The band room.
They're taking pic- Oh, it's just so beautiful.
A lot of his pictures though were like of,
The furniture and
Other room.
the life. No.
Joe likes a lot of mechanical stuff. Yeah.
Air
I'm
conditioning.
not going to send a picture of a chiller out there.
Yeah.
Some VFDs, some pumps.
it's like taking hinges and stuff. I don't know. We have 3 videos to go through them here. This is the first one. This is starting out at Belvoir and moving into the site. So it's following the main entry road. The fields are on the left. We're coming in, so parents are bringing in their students. The main parking lot is on the left. You can see the Chevron and the buses on the right. This sidewalk really gathers people from both sides and brings them right up to the front door. Now we're going to go in through the lobby. So now you can start to see some of that volume. The library is directly in front of you. There's the hallway that goes down towards the auditorium. Swinging around, you can see the 2-story library space that's right at the front of the building. Then we go down the main spine towards the Commons. The Commons has reduced in size significantly from the last time we talked to you guys. We're still keeping the concept, it's just been toned back. But we still have this shared space for all the different programs to come out and use. It's supposed to be a very flexible space you can use for a lot of different programs. And then here's a shot coming across the front of the building so you can really see what it's starting to look like. Main entrance is right there, and then we move down towards the academic wing. It's going to wrap around here. You can see we put the buffer in between your building and the adjacent neighbors. You can see the solar panels on the roof, so we do need a lot of that roof flat so we can move all those panels over there. Ideally, you want to do that and keep your contract with them. You can see it wraps around to the back of the building. And now you can start to see some of the level changes. We're going from 3 stories on the left side up to 2 stories on the right. There's quite a bit of elevation change there. And we also have to get up to the stadium level. So at the back of the building, there's a lot of grading.
Obviously, with all of the grading, everything's handicap accessible.
Correct,
You know,
absolutely.
all the, from the front of the building, you can see they have the same vestibule that we have in our other schools.
Yes.
But
all
even
the,
getting out to the track,
every room in the building is accessible. The only exception is going to be a mechanical penthouse or something like that. But anywhere that the staff and the students will be is fully accessible. We're going to also have an accessible route up to the stadium. So we're working with our civil engineer on the walkway, the ramp, and stair to get up to the stadium.
Are there still 2 elevators in this plan?
Yes, there's 2 elevators. There's one near the front main entrance, so that students that come in from being dropped off by car or dropped off by bus, they can go up to the upper floor quickly. And then at the 3-story wing, there's an elevator down there as well. That connects all 3 levels. The one by the main entrance connects the main floor and the upper floor. And we did recently move life skills right up front, close to the front door. So likely kids with a lot of issues, accessibility issues, they're going to be very close to the front door and they don't have to travel too far.
I know that part of this whole project was to replace all the fields, obviously, because we're using them, and move them to the front. Is there money budgeted with all this for the track and the football field, or is that a separate project?
The site cost includes rebuilding the track and the football field because we're going to be using that area for construction staging. What it doesn't include is if we wanted that to be a turf field.
Gotcha.
And that's certainly something to think about. If
Something
there's a number of field issues and use, you guys have already gone through it with the high school. You know the cost and the benefit. So that's not included in the budget.
Gotcha.
I have a really important question. Are those crazy things that are off near the track now where you're supposed to do pull-ups and sit-ups and it's a bunch of, you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, is that going to be gone?
I don't know.
Okay. or refinished, please? Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
I did.
I think they were,
Joe,
you know what I'm talking about?
It's like little stations to do exercises.
They're pretty beat up and they look a little scary.
Do they get used?
Accidentally hit.
I don't know if they get used.
Bob?
I'm sure they're gonna be wiped out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not in the footprint of the building. I'm just saying, I mean, if that happens to get erased, that would be
Oh,
great.
they wouldn't be perfect.
No.
What, no, we wouldn't be salvageable.
The first day we'll have the contractor for those.
Yeah, that would be accidentally, that'd be great.
Dr. Christian committed to taking him out.
Okay, it's really.
Oh, right.
Got our superintendent on
I'm
the
sure they'll
case.
be plowed
I'll
under,
help,
I'm sure.
I'll help, I'll put my
I've
gloves
done
on.
everything in my career except driving bulldozers. So.
I'll get my camera out.
Sounds like a plan.
Love it.
That's really my update presentation on the building. There's a few more slides that Jamie's going to go over with budget and schedule, but if there are any questions about the building design, we'll talk to them.
I mean, we lost the steps. We lost the step atrium area.
Yes. Yeah,
That was part of
we
the
made
larger
some
common
changes
area.
where we reduced the size of the commons, we reduced the complexity of it, and we took classrooms that were in other locations and filled in part of the commons area. So one of the ways we made it smaller is we moved other people into that area and got rid of the lectures seating area. It's still 2 stories from the main floor up to the upper floor, so we still have a nice volume. It's just less of it.
Is there a way to quantify how much that saved us?
Yes,
We're gonna-
we do
Mr.
have a
Lynch will go
breakdown.
over that.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I have a question, wait, I just forgot what it was. I'm sorry. I'll come back to you in 1 second when I figure what it was. It's to do with the,
Okay.
yeah, okay. Question.
Next one, Joe. I think it's
Thank
Jamie's
you.
turn.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's very exciting.
Looking at the steps.
Great. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you again.
No,
Um,
that's so exciting.
For those of you who don't know, Jim just got back from Vegas this morning.
This morning.
And in Vegas, he passed an exam, which is the second part of a Safe Schools design exam. So golf clap for
Great.
Jim.
That's great.
Did you win any money?
That was the easy part. He was
$60.
also
$60.
He's going to donate the $60 in winnings to the Colonial Middle School. we tasked him with far more, and
He
the
failed.
craps table did not pan out. So next year, I think he'll have to go back.
Yeah.
Before we get on the budget, just a quick business item. On the screen and in the presentation is the recommendation that we made for the award of professional services for the geotechnical investigation for Colonial Middle School. Upon receipt of 3 proposals from very good firms, we've elected to recommend Earth Engineering out of East Norriton. Earth has worked for the district before. They're very local. They have a very local lab. We have great experience with them. And by gosh, they came in at the lowest number. So the agenda item for the board would be an award to Earth in the amount of just over $34,000. And included in that contract are unit prices should we need to do any additional borings, should the findings present some issues that we need to further investigate. So the way this works is the design team put together a boring plan for us, and Earth will come out, they do a PA1 call, they come out and they do borings, and they classify the soils on the site. They identify where there is rock, how deep it is, where there might be water. They identify any soils that may be of a questionable nature, all to facilitate the design of the structural engineer who needs to design the foundations for the building. So I'm sure that you've gone through a geotechnical investigation before. The other thing that they will do for us, which is newer as we get further and further into regulations with respect to soils, is not only will they classify the soils, but they'll test the soils should any of them need to be hauled off site during construction. We don't think that this is going to be what we call a spoils job, where we have to haul off, but just in case, it's good to know what's in the soil. So that would be on your agenda this month for approval, and Earth is ready to proceed here in November. They have maybe 8 to 10 days worth of work.
Does the committee have to approve that? Or can we just move forward with it being on the agenda next week?
I would recommend that the board approve it on the 15th.
Okay.
Since it's necessary, I mean, the committee.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know if the committee had to say,
Yeah.
yes, it can go on the agenda. Which obviously I would be in favor of. I'm guessing Mel would too, but.
And Terry, Earth Engineering did our work at Ridge Park in Plymouth?
Yes, as
And
well
they
as the
did
high
the
school.
work out here
Yes,
for the fields? Okay, thank you.
good company.
Okay. The next professional service that I'm working on is the assembly of the hazardous materials investigation RFP, where a licensed and certified professional firm will come in and look at the existing middle school, identify anything that might be asbestos containing or any hazard that we need to remove prior to the demolition of the building. So that RFP will go out on the street in the coming week or so. I'd like to have it on your agenda for approval, hopefully in December, so we can do the investigation perhaps over the Christmas holiday. I'll know what's in the school. So that's some of the stuff that I'm on.
Quick question. That RFP is for the investigation only, not for the removal if any is found, or is it for both?
No, it's only for the investigation. It's the professional service. And
Okay.
so what we do is, we already have the HERA reports that the school district has, and now we're getting ready to actually demolish a building. And so this investigation goes beyond what you do for your HERA investigation and reporting. And once we know what that is, this consultant does the investigation, and he's also under contract to do the design of the abatement.
Of the
And
removal.
that would be something that we bid.
Bid. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so those are my two business items. With respect to project schedule, we are providing a condensed version of the schedule in each of our biweekly meeting minutes to the project team. Here's where we are to date. Jim has gone over this, and I'm sure that it's in the packet of yours, but we are fully engaged in a myriad of activities, and this is the sum total of what the design process is and how it dovetails with the land development process. So Tom is working on his submission to Plymouth Township, which should go in the coming weeks, and our goal is to be on the Planning Commission agenda now in January. And the goal is to have community meetings, meet with residents, also meet with fire and police and all of the folks who feed in, so that we go to Planning Commission. This should be a recognizable project, and folks have already brought some of their concerns or issues to the table, so we can begin to get a thumbs up, thumbs down from planning, and then move on to the commissioners. So we've got that process mapped out. But this is distributed really every 2 weeks through the admin team. So if you ever have any questions on the schedule, by all means, through the admin team, you can get back to me and we can clarify. Budget. Should we talk about budget?
Why
So,
not?
as Jim said, the design team has done a great job, along with Bob and Phil, in taking a look at the building and recommending areas where we might be able to save some space, which of course translates to dollars. They've reduced the size of the commons area, as you heard, and they basically filled portions of the commons area in with classrooms that are in other portions of the building, and that reduced the overall square footage. The auditorium was reduced in size, as Jim mentioned, to 716 seats. Some of our regular classrooms and also some of our special ed classrooms actually were increased in size based on the input of Bob and his team at the school. I think it was a wise decision, so that was actually an increase in square footage. The courtyard was simplified. It's not smaller, but it's simplified, and everything around the commons is a little simpler. Full height glazing reductions have been made, and I would venture a guess that some more are on their way. Based on our meeting yesterday with your resource officer, and we talked a lot about security and the whole concept of how much do we want to see into the building from the outside, and how much do we want to see out from the inside. And whether you're a safety person inside the school or you're a township police officer, the views tend to differ. And so it's a matter of finding the happy medium. Me, I'm just the cost guy. I like to get rid of that full height glazing. Jim knows that as well. So that's how we play. The idea generally if you're looking to reduce cost in glazing, is to get rid of tall glass, which is called storefront, and replace it with, curtain wall, and replace it with storefront. I knew you were going to jump on it. So we'll continue to work through that. Folks would look at this building and say, hey, there's a lot of glazing. And we looked at very specific areas with your resource officer just yesterday and said, hey, let's tighten it up, let's tighten up. In stair towers, for instance, where students are walking down a stair tower facing the outside, our idea was to close those areas so that students coming toward could not be seen. But where students are going away, keep the glass, because they still have the stairs that they're going down as a protective measure, if you follow. So these are the types of concepts that we're running through, unfortunately. Tech ed patio reduction. Outside of the tech ed areas, there's a rather large patio that was in the prior plans, and I know that is shrunk down as well. So what does this result in? A total building area reduction of about 4,900 square feet. And if you multiply that by our magic 255 number, $1.2 million in building program savings. So you say, hooray, we've reduced the building project budget by 1.2. All right, well, hold on a second.
And the auditorium, let me interrupt you, the auditorium reduction is for a very practical reason. The original plan, it was like 925 or 950. So from an assembly standpoint, if the middle school has a guest speaker coming in, even with 950, you're not going to be able to have, you still have to have 3 assemblies.
Right.
So, and then we also are having we're building a very large gym, so for promotion assemblies, where they get their biggest crowds, we'll use the gymnasium for that. So, there are some middle schools, as they design it, that are actually not even including auditoriums, as we saw on Friday. So we still think it's valuable to have one. We want our concerts, obviously, in there. We want our plays, musicals, things like that. But it was done purposefully. It was not just to reduce. We want to get the most utility as we can out of the building. And so middle school administration.
Gymnasium, home school.
Middle school gym will hold 1,400. Is that right? 1,500. Yeah.
1,400.
Yeah,
That's enough to have the whole-
we have done the
Yeah.
seating layout with using the gym, the bleachers, and the auxiliary gym. We're around 1,400 seats.
Thank you.
Okay, Joe. So if we harken back to when I was with you at the beginning of October, I provided a budget presentation that identified the increase in square footage, the addition of financing costs, market conditions, et cetera. And you may recall that we were looking at a delta of the total project cost that went from 72 million to 77 million. Okay? What I offer here is in the third column, we're back down to 226,000 square feet, and I've simply shown the square footage reduction as it relates to budget. And I've included $500,000 for the access road. So bottom line, lower right, 76,244. Now, what I've mentioned is that site is still a question mark, and there are many areas of the building and the project that remain a question mark that need to be sorted out. I won't blame Tom, but we have a lot of retaining walls that you might have seen in the video, and so that has to be factored into the site cost. What we have with the soils investigation, who knows what that is, and of course, market conditions are always there. So if you're still looking at trying to cap a budget for the project based on these numbers, I think you have to stay at that 77 number and consider the balance of what I'm showing you here as your safeguard or your contingency or whatever you want to call it. We'll work toward this number on the right side, and we'll continue to seek savings where we can. But if you were to identify something that you don't want to go over, I would stay over on that $77 million mark. Now, you might say, Jamie, where else can we save? And I would say, well, square footage, we have squeezed and wrung out this rag to the extent that we can. If your mandate is to save dollars, we have to cut a program, and we'll find a way. Right, Bob? We'll find a way. We'll work together, and we'll find a way. So that's an avenue there. How much can we cut? I don't know what that number is. We've not investigated another level, but upon your direction, we would certainly go to it. You've heard me talk about alternates, bid alternates for finishes and other things like that in the building. And my suggestion to you is that I can't find millions of dollars in savings in changing finishes. Those are smaller numbers. You know, we're at the point where unless we change program, meaning the space or the size of the building, or we do something dramatic to the site, I can't find big chunks of savings. So every time I find a savings, it might be $100,000 or something less. Yes, did you have a question?
2 questions.
Yep.
Does anybody do gyms with the stages attached to them anymore?
So
Whereas if we were having a performance where the one end of the gym opens up and it's the stage and people sit, I'm just wondering if that even happens.
So the gym with a stage in it is a very common element of an elementary
Oh,
school.
right. I didn't think middle schools would do it, but
Based on the sheer volume that you need, and usually there's performance requirements. So we're looking at acoustics and
Got it.
line of sight and
Done.
theatrical lighting.
I just picture someone asking me that question.
Well,
And then lastly, what are your thoughts with regard to when we go out to bid and how much that could possibly have to deal with the cost? If we go out to bid in March versus July, or is there a huge deal? It's one of the things we talked about months ago.
So the timing of this, we're talking of a bid that is Mayish, somewhere in there. Okay, and the idea is to use whatever we can of this first summer to get the site set up and rolling, and then we're into earthwork and foundations. So if I ever start a job, I want to start as early as I can in the summertime to do my earthwork and start to get foundations in the ground before winter hits. If I get the site stabilized and I have means to do that, I can work through the winter putting foundations in and be ready for steel. So ideally, this is a good time.
Okay.
So that's seasonal, right? And I have to do that in order to meet the 24-month time frame. Like I would love to start earlier. I'm going to blame it on Tom again because he has to get that crazy NPDS permit, right? I'm glad you came, Tom. So that permit, the submission's about to start. That's a 6-month permit. I like it. To shorten that is just heroic.
We
can do
also
that.
have talked in the past and with other projects that, to piggyback on what Kathy said, that there's certain times in the year that you get more competition than others. May works for that.
Yes. So
I think we're hoping that we're just falling into the right time.
right. Well, that's one of the things you're relying on me
Right.
for. So the other thing I have to do is put this bid in with all the other traffic. Okay. Next spring, there's a bevy of projects coming out, but do you know who you're competing against on this job? Upper Dublin.
Upper Dublin's first one,
Okay. They're going to go first. They're
Can't
further
we go
along.
first?
What's that? You
Do
want
they
to go
have-
first? My
do they
boss
have an
would kill me,
RC
but
Do they have an RCP?
They do not.
Okay, so maybe we're not competing with the same people.
True. So you will have good interest in this job. That middle school over there in Upper Dublin is equally attractive, and I think I've said to you before, the fact that you're not renovating but building new, put a star, good thing, right? If we were renovating, people would say, ugh. But again, the number of good contractors I can count on one main hand. Especially with your general contractor. He's the one, he gets you out of the ground, he gets that building pad done, and he's the one that drives the project. And so he's the guy that we're really looking for. There's 3 or 4 of them that we would really like to have. So I try to jockey your position, and Jim helps as well, and we understand where the other projects are coming out. What I know is we have, between the two of us, there are 4 elementary schools coming out in January, February. There's Upper Dublin Middle School, and there's any of the jobs that we don't have. So there is a lot of traffic. So the question is, will subcontractors be competitive?
I'll just add to it, both Upper Dublin's job and your job are very attractive to the top level contractors. So I think we're gonna get a lot of interest. Going second, you're gonna be one contractor less, so that's the disadvantage. The advantage is the guys that didn't get that Upper Dublin job, I mean, they gotta fill their queue. They're gonna be really honed in to get the next one. So actually, them missing it sets them up. You're going to get a really competitive bid on your project from the ones that are left. So you might not get the full pool that you want, but you're still going to get a very competitive price. There's not a lot of $60 million brand new building projects out there. These are the premier jobs that the contractors want to get because they do very well on these projects as well.
So that's my last slide. That's where we're going. I don't have 30 slides.
You don't have a movie?
He talked almost as long.
Other questions from the board?
Great. So do we want to move on to our second set of agenda items?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
So, Joe, Terry, are you going to talk about the stormwater?
The stormwater project in front of Plymouth Marsh High School on Downtown Pike was completed finally. I know there's enough road closures and issues going on in the area, but that was completed and finished. So that's the update on that project. And we also have...
Do they have any more paving to do in Germantown?
They do. They do have paving to do stuff.
That'll be our contractor.
Yeah. That'll be a combination of us with the curb and then finishing the paving.
Okay, but the pipe goes all the way through.
The pipe goes all the way through. It's connected. It's not
Okay.
The high school parking lot and bus lane, there were some issues with the drainage there. That was on the west side of the building, and then it went around the bus lane. We had to go in and dig it up again, and so if you're around the gym now, you can see that there's a pipe underground that was broken. So that was replaced, repaired, and everything at the high school is now draining appropriately. I think Dr. Christian remembers that it was recently a text that it was a lake one day. It's pretty bad. So all the drainage in the high school is good now too. So that was repaired. That was on the agenda.
And
Joe,
that was
was that-
responsibility of SB Conrad?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. The broken pipe was the contractor.
Yes.
Yes, that was SB. Sorry.
So now, they've been working on it for the past week or two. You saw maybe a couple of the new pads. It was a little disheartening to see some of the new concrete get dug up by the new gym. They are running the pipe. They talked about tying it to the drains that run out to the rain garden in front of the school, but instead they ran it to the back and it runs underneath the new rain garden. But I came down on Saturday and drove through it, and I can tell you it was not a leak, so that was a good sign. And Tuesday, it was improved as well. So, kudos to Gene Kelly and his crew, the turf guys. They were digging holes by hand. There's that one guy, Nick.
Yeah.
Nick is a workhorse, and so I said, get Conrad out here with the machine, because if I see Nick dig another hole, I'm gonna have to buy him lunch. But it's all their responsibility.
And will the pads be replaced and completed before we open for basketball season?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Actually, it's probably important to tell you that we actually took when we found the broken pipe, it connected to a pipe that went under the foundation of the existing auxiliary gym. So they actually then ran parallel to the building and around the building, which is much better for us. So there's actually no drainage pipe under the building anymore. So we actually had them reroute it so that we're not under the building anymore. The ADA doors, Dave, I think you had a cost on them. Just wanted to make sure I mentioned them and brought them up, that we actually installed the ADA doors at the gym. And the main entrance.
We put in the automatic door
Oh, yeah.
openers down by the gym and by the main entrance.
Of the high
We had
school.
discussed. Each set, I believe, was $6,500 for a total bill of $13,000.
Correct.
So they are in place, Zoe, necessary and operating appropriately. So you'll see that on the bill list.
Is that gonna come out of the bond fund for the high school project, or is that coming from somewhere else?
It will not be coming out of bond fund. It was not part of the
It was not part of it.
forensic accounting I did, so that will be paid out of the capital reserve fund.
Last item is the cost of the feasibility study. And I apologize, I don't have any board docs. I will, bless you, I will send the board. We asked GKO Architects when they commenced the feasibility study. To my understanding, it began in February, March of 2017. So they looked at, and they provided a 3-page narrative that I'll share with the board, the work that they did. Much of what they did, and I arrived obviously about 6-7 months later, they did a study of not only CMS, but also the building where we sit presently. They did an analysis of renovations that may be needed in both buildings or possibility of building new. They also looked at potential of moving 6th grade over here, if you remember that dialogue. They looked at parking, they looked at traffic flow, fairly extensive work. That continued when I arrived, and we were starting to do a variety of scenarios, and they produced about 8 or 9 different scenarios for both buildings. So they are requesting payment for that work. The amount is, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, I believe $53,000 for their work. Once again, this would not come out of the bond fund, right, Mr. Sabowski? This would come out of general fund, capital reserve.
Capital reserve, yeah.
Sorry, capital reserve. Dave has finished his full auditing of it. He did find a duplicate payment that we had made, so we reconciled that and received that money back. And we wanted to make sure that the bond fund remained the bond fund and capital reserve remains capital reserve. So GKO has been very cooperative as we've cleared all that up, and this should finalize any and all payments related to the feasibility study.
Are you recommending that this bill gets paid?
I am.
Are you,
There are a couple other invoices that Dave, Terry, and I are disputing, and we will not be paying. And that has to do with some of the extended services that GKO provided. I don't think there's any malice of forethought, but I can tell you that the 2 gentlemen to my left throughout the summer lived in that gym, and they did the extended services. And so, again, we're disputing a few of those, and Terry's working with GKO to reconcile those. And I just felt we looked at it, and one of the invoices lacked detail. But we asked GKO for a narrative for this last bill, and they supplied it in early October, and I reviewed it, Terry and Joe reviewed it, and we're recommending we pay.
is the documentation associated with this narrative complete?
Yes.
Sure.
I can speak to from September of 17 through February of 18. And Joe and Terry will have to vouch for the time prior to my arrival, but I can tell you I have plenty of documentation from the work that they did.
Yeah, because normally when you receive an invoice, it's not a narrative of this manner. It's
Hours.
more hours
Yeah.
associated with what was associated with each task. I don't know if any of that has been done, and has it been verified that that work was done when they said it was done? You know, does someone sign off on it, is what I was asking.
Sure. Yeah, Terry would approve all of those. I can talk about the product that we received and the detailed plans that we received, so I see evidence in the product. But I asked for the narrative to explain the total number of hours in the invoices. So listen, I'll forward it I'll send it out before I go home tonight. I'll send it to the board so you see it. It detailed all the meetings they attended and all the different scenarios that they
I think
provided.
that's good. Really good. Appreciate it.
So do you need anything from the committee on this, or is this just, will this just show up as something to approve at the next meeting?
It'll just, now it'll show up as a board approval,
Okay.
part of the bill list.
Anything else? Great. Any public comment on tonight's meeting?
I just have a question about the buffer between the new construction and the kids and.
Is that on? It's not very loud. Should be.
Is it on now? Okay, sorry. So when the construction is happening at the middle school, I just wondered if you have a plan for where the construction vehicles are coming in and out, because I didn't see that on here.
Yeah, so there's a construction phasing plan that's being developed, and our staging is going to be up inside the existing track. And construction vehicles, we're going to be seeking an entrance off of Plymouth Road,
Okay.
so that we are not intermixing with parent traffic and bus traffic.
Okay. And then I just wanted to say I was just a little bit concerned, and I realize that you guys make decisions with a lot of input, but the two biggest complaints that parents have at the current middle school is parking and the auditorium space. And it's just, when you hear that it's going even smaller in size than what it is, I'm sorry, I'm just a parent that shows up at all the concerts. I'm just, putting that out there because a lot of parents are frustrated. You guys all get, I mean, not to be disrespectful or anything, but you guys always have reserved seats. I mean, we don't, so it's always fun trying to squeeze people in. So I just encourage you to attend the winter concerts so you can really see what it looks like now. The last winter concert I went to, there were more than 100 people standing in the back. So just moving forward, I want you to just picture that because that's the biggest frustration that parents have currently. So,
No, we appreciate that, and these decisions don't come lightly, so certainly appreciate that.
yeah. So that's it. Thanks.
Any additional public comment? Okay, and we'll call this meeting to a close. Thank you, everybody.